you got a chance to visit our experience zone, have a look at the various demos we have in store for you and avail those offers. We're also looking forward to seeing your comments on our signature wall. So there's a lot happening right here. We love seeing all those pictures that you're tagging using our hashtag. Please do continue doing so as we get all set for our session right here on changing the world's perception. And along with our moderator, Ms. Archana Rai, editor, South Economic Times, it's an absolute pleasure as I extend a very warm welcome to Ms. Neelam Dhawan, co-director, ICICI Bank, and a very warm welcome to Mr. Atul Dhawan, partner, Deloitte India. So nice to see both of you all looking absolutely lovely in that one frame.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And may I now hand over to Ms. Rai.
Thank you, Isha, and welcome, Atul and Neelam. It is indeed wonderful to see the two of you together on that frame, as Isha says. And without really, sort of dwelling too much on other points, I think we should just head straight to the cut, so to speak, Neelam, and ask, how did you break the glass ceiling? It's not often that we get to see women who've risen to the top, not just in one, but two large global technology companies, Microsoft and HP. How did you do it?
Thank you, Archana, for that question. I think breaking the glass ceiling, and this question comes up repeatedly, it's important for us to think through what all is required to help a woman get to that leadership position. The first, I believe, is the woman herself. I did always express that I desired and I wanted to do more in my career, and I'm very serious about my job. That expression is very critical for all women, or else the management never comes to know how serious you are about your work. Of course, I was always paranoid about performance and getting the right results, and very enthusiastic about my work. The second is important is the leadership in companies needs to support women and say, we are willing to work with women, they have capability, and treat them as equal, if not more than equal, because I think women have more capabilities than men, right? The leadership has to be very supportive and give them the opportunity. And lastly, I believe the family has to support a woman. I don't think you can make everything work, like make your house work, your family work, and also do the work at your office if everybody doesn't support you. So
Absolutely.
the ecosystem around you has to come together to help you rise to and break the glass ceiling.
Very important points there, Neelam. I will come back to you again, but I thought I'd draw Atul in at this point and ask, one, of course, Atul, is your role as clearly as a very supportive influence in through Neelam's career. But I would first want to ask you about the point that she made about companies and organizations having a supportive structure that helps women professionals express themselves better, because I think the point that Neelam was making was that there is help required on that front. Can I get you to comment on that?
Yeah, I think organizations have started doing a lot in that area now. And there is recognition that it's an important thing to do, is to provide the opportunity to women to excel in whatever they're doing. In fact, in our organization, what we say is that it's not just the right thing to do, it is the right business thing to do.
Okay.
There are enough studies to show that you get value accretion when you work with diversity. And diversity is not just women, it's a much wider term. But the gender issue is probably the most important diversity issue that we need to confront today. And if you look at organizations today which embrace this concept and embrace this mantra, they invariably have much better value accretion.
True.
And we've seen it not just in our own organization, we've seen this in a lot of our clients as well. So it is a very, very critical path to a successful career.
So really, what really comes across from what you're saying, Atul, is that it's not just that you do it because it's the right thing to do. There is also commercial and clear benefit, value that accrues to companies.
That is correct. It is both. I'm not saying you do it only for the selfish reason for commercial gain.
I
But
get that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's both.
It's
It is
both.
the right thing to do, and there is a commercial logic to doing it as well.
Before I come back again to ask you about your supporting role in Neelam's career, Neelam, I wanted to ask you, there are several decades through which you have risen to the level that you now have. And today's world perhaps can look very different from when you started out. How have these supporter structures evolved? How different are they now? And how are they better? Are they more supportive? If you can just give us a quick, sort of comparison, so to speak.
So I've been part of the IT industry for nearly 38 years. And when I started in 1982, just fresh out of college, one thing that was very jarring is you walked into a meeting room and you would perhaps be the only woman in the room. And, and if you were not, even if you wanted to make a point in the discussion, it was very easy for people to say, ignore you and carry on with the conversation in the room. So it was very important for me to say, if I'm in the room, I must make my presence felt. And I'm there because I have a point of view on what is being discussed, which I must articulate. So it was like you pushed yourself, and it wasn't that people would even bother if you didn't speak up, and you could just pass the time sitting from one meeting to the other. So that was one culture. Today it's not so. Everybody respects the women who are in the organization and does give them a voice in whatever discussions that are happening. And that is clearly a big difference, which I see in the work cultures across companies from 38 years ago to today.
Taken that
I think women are very serious about their career today.
True. Yes. So there are two aspects to this. One, organizations have evolved themselves, and perhaps women in the way they visualize their careers, that too has changed and progressed, right? I mean, I'm sure you would have noticed this too. Which brings back to Atul, because I wanted to ask you, one of the points that Neelam mentioned right up front was the supportive structure that women require in their personal situations to make a success of a professional career. What's your view of this? How important is this?
Yeah, quite honestly, a structure at home and a family structure is critical, whether you're a male, or you're a woman. If you don't have a good family structure behind you, you're not going to succeed as an individual. I think that's the overarching concept. The second is, we do have a situation historically where women have been challenged and they had to make the extra effort to move ahead. So Neelam mentioned about, asserting herself in meetings to be heard and, get recognized for what it is. From the home, we also supported her. We also support, we have two daughters and we do the same with the two of them as well. The first thing to do is to emphasize, to say, your choice to follow a career is a choice you've made, and it's important that you fulfill it at the maximum. It's not a half-hearted choice that you should make. And as a family, we support each other. It's not about my supporting Neelam. Neelam supports me. Both of us have kept very crazy hours and travel schedules, and we've backed up each other. We've also developed an ecosystem at the back end, in the sense of, our parents, both her parents her and mine, supported us and, bailed us out whenever we needed it and helped out whenever we needed it. So the larger family system becomes very important for a successful career. And that family support is important thing for this purpose as well.
Absolutely. Neelam,
actually, I want to make a comment. People normally say behind every successful man, there's a woman. And I would say behind every successful woman, there's a man and women.
Absolutely. You couldn't be more correct on that. Supportive ecosystems are so critical in terms of, to take forward any sort of challenge, really. Just stepping back a little bit from both of you who worked in global companies when India was still really, and when you all began, India would have been seen really as an outsourcing hub. But how much has that perception changed, and how much how is India viewed really broadly? That's one question. The other, again, to dovetail along with the points that you all made about supportive ecosystems behind professionals that make, large, tough corporate careers possible. Does India have an advantage? So essentially, I have two questions, and I'd like both of you to, sort of pitch in on this.
So let me start by talking about the technology and the IT industry and the advantage of outsourcing, which we saw. We lived in the US in the 80s, both Atul and I. And when we lived there, outsourcing was never thought of. The model which evolved after 2000 is that of we can get work done in India. In 88, 89, 90, we tried, it didn't work. And of course, then in 96, 97, it started where people said you can get software developed from India. It was the call center culture had not come in. Then the year 2000 happened. And if you remember, Y2K was a big scare in most of the, across the globe, that the systems will come to an halt because techies would give the last date as, 2000. And the systems will come to a halt. And there was a lot of rework which had to be done. And inevitably, India got a great opportunity at that time. And we came out from being just not being considered for anything but a country which could do software modifications, write software, and also get into a culture of BPO and transaction processing much later. But now if you look at India and in IT industry, we are all about automation. We are all about robotics. We are all about artificial intelligence. And the number of startups which have come in during this time are very different. Even the work which companies are doing today is very different. Today, digital transformation for the world is happening in India. So that big change has happened from the BPO to now. And globally, it is accepted that India is a country which will work in tech for many more decades.
Atul, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, like Neelam said, that when we started off, there was no outsourcing. I mean, so we're probably more vintage than that. But I think what has happened is with the large volume of outsourcing work and the coding work that India did, I think we developed the skills for software development and the development of tools and assets in a big way. So today it's not about BPO. Today you're not about cost arbitrage. You become a game for value. Right? So, and today you are the tech capital of the world. No digital transformation takes place in the world anywhere without India being involved in a big way. It's
That's
the
powerful place to be in.
India is the delivery center to the world today, and in the transformation game, in the digital transformation game. So India did the right things. We all did the right things collectively to move from move sharply up a very steep learning curve. So we went from the basics, recoding COBOL in the Y2K days, going to doing further software development, going for tech implementation, and then mastering the new concepts as challenges got thrown India's way. So I think we did a great job, and you're now recognized as the leading power in this game.
Well, I'll come back again to the soft power that perhaps Indian ecosystems offer. But before that, I wanted to ask you, Neelam, at this point, staying with the point that Atul made as well, Indian origin corporate leaders are now head of some of the world's largest corporations. So we've really seen Indian talent also come through through the ranks, so to speak. How do you view this? Is this really India's moment? And how about Indian women professionals? What are the opportunities that you think now exist across corporations, both within the country and globally?
I think the opportunity for women is huge. It's just that we don't have enough women studying science and technology and coming through the universities and colleges. And that's been a challenge. We have not been encouraging women to take careers in science and technology. But the more we do, there's a great opportunity for a very, very evolved and sophisticated career for women in technology. And I think our whole education system has to change towards that. I'm a great believer in the startup movement, which we are having in our country today for the last 10 years. As
Absolutely.
new companies start up in India, and as we come through, and we are seeing a lot of tech companies come here, I am sure we will develop into a major global companies in India. We have to change the mindset. We said make in India to make in India for the globe. I think adding that dimension is very critical for us, because then we'll think differently and we'll develop companies which will have global footprint and perhaps dominate the industries across all. It could be manufacturing, it could be technology, it could be fintech, it could be AI. But we have the capability, and we have a very large number of startups in the ecosystem which can actually grow to be multi-billion-dollar companies.
Absolutely true. That's a very important point that you raised, not just make in India, but make in India for the globe, right? So I just want Atul to weigh in here at this point. When you look at careers for women professionals, I know Neelam mentioned about the lack of insufficient number of women choosing STEM careers, I think. What do you think is more than, shall we say, more supportive for a woman to aspire for a startup-led career or a large corporation? Where do you think women professionals stand a better chance?
I think it's both. I think it's both. And it also, so while we talk a lot about startups, excuse me, it also depends on personal temperament and personal preferences of what careers you want to take. I mean, they're very different paths you take. But I think there are both. And, we've seen poster, that's not a good term to use, but poster child for women leadership in global companies. So it's not unheard of. It's not just about leading companies in India. It's about leading companies anywhere else in the world. I think the competence is there. I think because we started encouraging women in more recent times, we will start seeing the impact of that in a bigger way in the coming years. We're already beginning to see it. I mean, it's I'm just going to say this, but that we know that for an alcohol company, we want to get a woman CEO in India, right? Isn't that amazing? I mean, something that was a taboo just a few years back.
Yeah.
And we want to get a woman CEO to lead the country's largest liquor company.
Really.
Yeah.
That's
I
think
it's just a floodgate waiting to open, and it's going to happen.
So we have just a few minutes left. So I thought I'd end by asking the two of you about India's soft power. We've heard about, Bollywood, cricket, Hindi music. All of this is, huge brands that India has in terms of soft power. What about the family ecosystem to support women professionals? Do you think of that as soft power also that India has? Neelam and then Atul.
Absolutely. I think the support system which the families give, and we may say the joint family is not working, there's that, but the families, the support they give you is phenomenal. If you have to have a career, you need that support, and it is far more powerful than any of the others you talked about.
If I add on to what Neelam is saying, I think that is a cultural ethos of ours we perhaps need to bring back and reinforce.
Very true, very true.
Yeah, so it is, I mean, you may restructure it. You don't have to bring it back exactly the way it was, but that core concept of a joint family and a family support, we need to bring that back and encourage that, because I think that is going to be critical for the success of India.
Absolutely. On that note, thank you very much, Atul, and thank you very much, Neelam. That was a very interesting session.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.